Okay. All right. So how you doing today, Phil?
I'm really good, Perry. It's a beautiful sunny day. I was actually out splitting some wood when you gave me a buzz. So
Yeah,
it's cold but nice.
yeah, 14 degrees when I came to work this morning.
Yeah,
And yeah, I tell you what, that's the best time to split wood when it's damn cold like that.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, you don't want to do it when it's hot. That sawdust and
No, yeah,
stuff is not.
no, absolutely. I love it. It's a great workout, you know,
Yeah,
for
I
for
do.
us old guys that need to do something and like
I
we used to.
agree.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Now, so Jeff just joined us. There you
Get
go.
me in there.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that
Absolutely.
too much light above us? Are we
Yeah.
good?
Let's see here.
Let me tone this one down just a
Yeah.
tad.
So, all right.
Halo off my head.
So Phil, I was at your place about 3-4 it was before Christmas, 3-4 weeks ago, and you mentioned something that was kind of shocking to a lot of your customers. And
Yeah.
go ahead and fill us in on that.
Well, so yeah, we've there's some things changing. We've been in business out here 5 years, I guess, in November. So we started. I actually started. Carol and I started, 1905, and I brewed in there starting in. I think we started brewing in maybe 17, opened in 2018, and then had that tragic fire in 2000, February 28th of 19. So at that point, we came out, decided to split up. Fortunately, 1905, those guys, three of the couples stayed in and went ahead and rebuilt. And then we actually put a brewery out here on the farm, and we've been going ever since. And that's the strange, because a lot of people come to Assumption, a town of 1,000 people, when everybody's home. And and they say, "How do you have two breweries?" Although Findlay's getting right up there with wineries and,
Right.
and stuff as well.
Yep.
So that's kind of the story how we got here. But we've decided that we're gonna retire again. Sort of, we sort of retired and did this, and but now we're gonna retire on the brewery side, and we're working. Hopefully, going to make a sale of the business with all um, the recipes and everything, and continue Cypress Girl Brewing in another location, some younger guys. But so we'll be closing at the end of the year, but we wanted to do. We've kind of gotten into bourbon a little bit, like a lot of other people, and so I think we used to, Carolyn and I have been like a lot of people. You kind of do the whole gamut of wine, beer, then wine, then I was back in bourbon, and then I got big in craft beer, and now it's like it's really bourbon for me. I mean, when I come in at the end of the day from brewing or at the brewery, I usually want to have a bourbon of some kind. And I think it all kind of started when we went down there to Kentucky and did the tastings, and then all of a sudden you drink it straight and you're like, oh, that isn't so bad. That's, you think back to the old days when you threw back some really bad bourbon or bad whatever it
Cheap
was.
whiskey.
And yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Jack
so
and Coke. Jack and
Right.
Coke.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Believe me.
so it brings back some bad memories, actually. So when we went to Kentucky and did this, and man, the flavors
It
Bad
does.
mornings. Yeah.
and so that really kind of got us turned on to bourbon. And so, we've been going down there now. We've got a little kind of a small bourbon group that travels around, and I think you guys know some of them. My name Trish and Todd from over at the lake over there, and
Yep.
and then Mike Carner and his wife Eileen, and the Dorns from Payne, and then the former owner of Decatur Brew Works, who's now retired and has nothing to do but drink some bourbon. He's and he goes with us as well. So Drew and Peggy. So we've been going down there. I think this is going to be our third or fourth year. We'll be headed down at the end of February. And when you were down there, the last time especially, we started getting into some of these small places, and some of them are really cool. Like Glen Creek. I mean, super small and just like my place, maybe even smaller. And
Oh, smaller than your
Wow.
place. Oh my God.
yeah, exactly. Hardly really no tap room. I mean, just a bar. But that place was really cool. But I'm not going to rip on anybody. But there were some other places we went where they were charging obscene prices for bourbon that then I later found out, just actually came from MGP, and I'm not sure they were doing anything except bringing it in and and just bottling it
Yeah.
and marketing. It's all about marketing. It was all a big
Right.
marketing place. So I said, I think we could do this and maybe do a better job than what some of these guys are doing. I don't want to distill. I'm too old and I don't, it takes too much time to get good product, and age it. But MGP, I found out, is available with aged, product that you can buy if you're licensed. And so I started down the path this summer and just said, I'm just going to see if I can do it. If it'd be prohibitively expensive, if TTB, the Fed, the regulators, the Fed regulators would let me, and then if the state would let me. And it was a long process. It took a lot of, especially at the state level. The Fed was actually fairly easy, but at the state level, they had a lot of questions because we didn't want to distill, and they have a craft distiller's license. And so we don't really want to do that, but we're going to rectify, is what the TTB calls it, the Tobacco and Trade Bureau. That's our regulator. And so that's what we got a license from the TTB, and then we were able to, right at the end of December, got our craft distiller's license, which lets us, basically bring in bourbon from MGP and ryes and whatever, spirits. And what we're doing is we're secondary aging them, because I've started probably 2 years ago. I bought some like 2.5 gallon new toasted oak barrels, and I started just buying Evan Williams, because that used to be my kind of go-to for an old fashioned. We'd always just do an Evan Williams. I always thought it was a pretty good bourbon, for a really good
All
price
right.
point. And we'd put it in those barrels, and then we'd pull it out after about 4 months, and it was so much better. And then I put beer back in the barrels, like my beer, my craft beer, that bottle aged stuff, and age it for another 3 or 4 months, reseason the barrel, and then bourbon again. And so I've been doing that for like 2 years. And I mean, when it comes out of there, it tastes like a lot higher cost product than what goes in. So I
Yeah.
said, I think we could do that. We've got, because we secondary age beer now. We've got at the moment, I think 10 full size barrels, 53-gallon barrels of our beers, secondary aging anywhere from age of 2 months up to over a year and a half. And so what we've
Wow.
done is, in a month ago, we bought in 2 barrels of MGP rye whiskey, 95% rye whiskey, because they make, they actually make they own a lot of companies now, and they make some of the best ryes out there when it comes down to it. And bought 2 of those barrels, and we bought 2 of their 36% rye bourbons. We didn't get any wheated bourbon on this round. So it's a high capital, kind of cost. So I tried 4 barrels. We've got them aging. They've been in for about 2 months. Um, and my labels will be in hopefully the last of this week. So hopefully on the 25th of January, we're going to have product. This is a paper label. It's not a full on mock-up, but this is what we're going to start out with. And this is the bourbon in a 750 liter that we've got. And I have to say, it is actually really good. Although the rye is my thing. I've kind of progressed on to ryes, and I love this rye of theirs. And then we're going to have the little 375. So our first round, it's all going to be, of course, everything's going to be single barrel, because we bought 2 barrels of each product, but then they've gone into to individual beer barrels, and the beer barrels then add their own character to that bourbon and rye. The beer barrels started out as, so one of them was Four Roses, and we brought it here and put one of our Marzens in it, and then the others were, I think, Heaven Hill. And then there was one of them that was actually a wine barrel that went, and they had somebody in Chicago put some bourbon in it for a few months, and then I bought it and put beer in it for 2 years, and now it's got bourbon. That one's got bourbon back in it.
Well, that's very cool. So
That's awesome.
So now did you close the brewery part of it at the end of the year?
End of this year, 2025. It'll December 27th will be our last day
Okay,
open.
so you still
And then
active, so we'll have to
hopefully,
get down there sometime. Yeah.
hopefully by that point, there's a group we're working with. They're trying to put together what they need to buy it. but they're a bunch of young guys, and I think they'll do a really good job, and they'll keep it in the area, if
Yeah.
it works out. And
Cool.
like I said, they'll be able to produce a lot of all the same beers if they want to, and they're taking the equipment and the name. So Cypress Grove Brewing will go with them, and we'll transition to like something different. It'll be a Cypress Grove something. I'm not exactly sure. It's a DBA name anyway, so we have a LLC that owns it all. So we'll probably be Cypress Grove Spirits or something
Whatever.
along
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
lines.
I like it.
Well, very, very
So
cool. I love it that you're a local, local brewery, and now you're transitioning into the bourbon like everyone else is, and that's kind of how Jeff and I started getting together with these podcasts, is because the sudden rise in fame of bourbon, which used to be just a brown cheap liquor in your dad's cabinet in the back, back
exactly.
of the cabinet there, and like Evan Williams and Jack Daniels and stuff that we all grew up with, and we didn't really enjoy it that much, or if we did, we always had with the Coca-Cola or 7-Up or whatever. And or you'd go to a bar, meet all your buddies, always do shots of Jack Daniel, and that never wound up very well.
No, it's dark spot eating
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. And so, Jeff is the general manager of the Decatur Club here in Decatur, Illinois. And for the last, how many years? A couple of years you've been doing the bourbon?
We're about 18 months now.
About 18 months.
Drew and Peggy have come. I don't know if you've been able to
Yeah,
that, Phil,
we
or
were
maybe
actually
you're
with
on the
them
list.
No,
the
he,
last,
he did come.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we're doing what you got, High West, is it?
Yeah, that's on the
I just had one of
24th.
their ryes
and,
here. They got their rye is really, that rye blend of theirs is
It's
really
good.
nice. So
It's really good.
Yeah.
Plus, with that one, we've got the Prisoner Share, which is kind of a hard to find unicorn for a lot of people. We also have the Winter's Night Dram. I guess I got both of those here. I'm telling you, and I could be showing you.
There we go, yeah.
Put up the camera here.
So we got
So
a
that's,
Midwinter's Night.
Act 12, Scene 8 on the Midwinter's Night Dram. That's going to be one of the unicorns at our High West tasting. Of course, we've got the Campfire, the Rendezvous Rye, all the staples that you would expect.
Right.
And then our rep was kind enough to get us one bottle of the Prisoner Share and one of the Midwinter's Night Dram. So
very nice.
both of those, if you find them on the shelf for $200, $250-ish a piece,
Right.
this is kind of one of those tastings that if you are into these, especially into the ryes, this is going to be a killer tasting.
Mm-hmm.
We've come into some really good ryes in the last year. We'll have the Campfire, the Rendezvous, and of course, what's the other one? What do you hold up now?
We got. I've got the
the regular straight bourbon.
straight bourbon.
But
Here we go.
we're excited about it. It's going to be a cool thing, and I don't throw any shade on Evan Williams. I'm a big fan of their little green and white bottle and bond bottle.
Right.
For under $30, it's something I think everybody should have on their shelf.
Yeah, I agree.
But we kind of got in with one of our reps on the High West. It took us about 4 months to be able to get the Night's Dram and the Prisoner Share. So we've got 16 spots left for that, and we'd love to get some more folks involved to talk about that, because it's an anomaly. It's kind of this unique bourbon that's coming out of Park City, Utah. Some of it's blended, some of it's their deal, but it has been one, especially with the Midwinter's Night Dram, that people are starting to follow. I'm not saying that Heaven Hill or Buffalo Trace aren't still at the top of a lot of people's list, but I think over the last year, we've kind of turned the corner in some people's minds and been able to expand into some bourbons that maybe they'd never heard of before. I'll be honest with you. The first time I tried High West was 2 years ago out at the famous Mount Zion liquor raffle that Lucky and the team do out there. There was one of the reps from Southern Wine and Spirits, and they were giving away shots of the regular bourbon versus the Rendezvous Rye. And before then, it really wasn't anything that would grab my eye going down the bourbon aisle at any liquor store. They're beautiful bottles. They've got a lot of marketing dollars behind them, but I kind of perceived them as being maybe a little lower tier option. And now that I've had the chance to try all these, I'm pretty pumped about seeing how this is going to shake out for us. And we've got a lot of followers who are really dedicated to their bourbons, and they hang on to the podcast and different publications that are out there very religiously. So, I'm pretty pumped about it. I'm looking forward to a good crowd.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It was so neat. I went to the publisher in Bethany the other night, and Mike Sweeney, the owner of the publisher, he put on a blind taste test. Right, he had 4 bourbons. You did not know what they were, and he would get up there and he'd talk about the nose and the caramels and the vanillas and the cherries and the coffee and this, that, and the other, how it should start, how it should finish. And he was given a list of everything, and you only did half-ounce shots, right? So you're going through and you make little notes. You don't know if it's a good bourbon or a bad bourbon. You're just using your senses. And what he started with, I'll tell you what, it was pretty unique. What he started with was Lucky 7 Workhorse, all right, which is a 97 proof, kind of a light, average proof. It was a good one. We really enjoyed that one. Then he went to the Heaven's Door, which is the Bob Dylan
Right.
Brand.
That's
great. We did that one last year. The Revival.
Yeah, the Revival. Right. Still don't know what you're drinking, but you kind of guessing. And this one had a really nice cherry flavor, nice sweet aftertaste. The third one was Evan Williams.
Yeah.
All right. Just a black and white Evan Williams bottle. And then the fourth one was a bourbon, which it's called Kaskaskia. It's from down there in Vandalia.
Right.
I'll leave that up to other people to judge whether they like it or not. I'm not going to criticize it or promote it. But then we went through and we tried to determine what we were drinking. I tell you what, it was amazing how many people picked Evan Williams as what they liked.
No, it's a good product. Yeah,
And the reason why he did that is he didn't want to say, okay, I'm drinking an $80 bottle here or $250. Right. Well, that's really good. And then I'm drinking a $19 bottle. Oh, that's terrible. It really tricks your senses. So that was pretty cool.
I think you had that maybe last episode before, where you and a buddy sit down and try to Pappy 10 versus a Eagle Rare 10. Sometimes people don't have the experience to differentiate that. Some of us who've been chasing this bourbon for a while maybe have a little more refined palate. But, it's kind of like wines. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we did a lot of wine tastings, a lot of wine dinners. Sometimes people associated a certain name, Rodney Strong or Charles Krug or some big hitter that just had to be the best wine. And most of those wines are in the $30 to $50 a bottle price point. We stumbled on a lot of wines in our research that were $7 to $15 a bottle that could put out the same, pronounced notes, a really kick-ass flavor profile, great pour. It was kind of surprising when you don't have the price point out in front of you. Sometimes your mind is a little more open. I had one not too long ago for a group of gentlemen, and 3 out of 5 of them said, "Oh, Blanton's is the best thing in this entire tasting." So I waited until we were almost done with the tasting. I came back down. I got a Caribou Crossing, and I got an E.H. Taylor single barrel, and I poured them 1, 2, 3 with the Blanton's in the middle, and everybody picked the E.H. Taylor single barrel as being the Blanton's and the best one that was. Now, you and I both know, Phil, they're similar mash bills, if not the same, when they start.
Right.
But sometimes people just associate that Mercedes-Benz, a Cadillac mentality with sampling. So I enjoy doing a blind tasting. Sometimes I think it really resets the senses and gives you a renewed mindset of what you get out of the experience.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, actually, that's when we were first into this, we were down in Louisville, and I was very naive at the time. My brother was retiring, and he actually had worked in wealth management, and the owners of Pepe Van Winkle were some of his clients. And so he was always talking about it. He one time got us some maple syrup that had been aged in a barrel and all this. I never got a bottle of Pappy out of it, but when he retired, naive Phil at the time who didn't know much about bourbon, I said, I'm going to get my brother a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. That'll be a great retirement gift. So first off, I started calling around and realized, A, you can't really get it, and B, if you could, I wasn't going to spend that much on my brother's retirement. So, but when we were down there, I found it at a bar. It was $100 a shot, and I'm like, I'm still got a lot of farmer in me, and I'm kind of, I'm like, I don't
Right.
know if I can, that's going to do it for me. But we were at another bar, and the bartender, she said, it was a bourbon bar, and she said, it's good, it's a really good bourbon, but she said, Angel's Envy is really what I like. And I'd never tried Angel's Envy at that point. And man, I got into that. And then for a while, I was all Angel's Envy. But then, you know how it is, you kind of progress on and find other things. And then we got into the ryes, and Angel's Envy does make a good rye, which I think comes from MGP actually.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think marketing and perception play a huge role. And even I can taste the same bourbon 2 nights in a row and get a different result.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Sometimes a rye will come across really hot one night, and the next night you drink it, and it seems like it's pretty smooth first off. So,
Yeah.
but
Have you had the
it's a good drink.
Hemingway rye?
The what now?
The Hemingway rye. Have you
I
had
have
that?
not.
Came
I
out
have
last
not.
year. It's fantastic. It was one of the top rated bourbons in
Okay.
23. Absolutely amazing. I'm looking to see if I got a bottle up there. It looks like we must have finished it this weekend, but very reasonable. $65 rye. It's in a cool bottle. Looks similar to like a 1792 style, flat
Okay.
stripe
Yeah. Right.
looking bottle.
I'll have
But
to look for that.
really, really cool. And they've
Okay.
kind of done a Vegas label on the front where it has these button icons. Looks like an old Vegas hotel casino sign, and it's got a really
Cool.
awesome flavor profile to
Yeah.
it. So,
It's called Hemingway.
Hemingway rye.
Hemingway, right?
To me, that's one that if you go out and look, Fred Minnick and some of the guys did comment about it last year quite heavily, but it's kind of lost back in the Facebook feed, if you will, for some people. But, if I'm going to go recommend out of the 6 ryes that I have up there, even over Redemption and Pendleton, it's kind of my go-to right now. And
Redemption,
tough
and Pendleton are both, and Pendleton especially is really reasonable for the way its taste point on it. It's really nice. Yeah.
Well, very cool. So what Jeff and I've been trying to do is ever since we got involved with this podcast, the reason behind the idea of the podcast was to try to generate enough interest in people who are enjoying bourbon, from the beginning, neophyte, like we all were at one point of our lives, to the more advanced people who've been doing this for years and years and years. Jeff is very well versed on his bourbons and his ryes, and you have become very, very educated and versed, and your expertise and your knowledge of brewing is going to bring just a whole higher level of your bourbon to that, and your unique little tasting room that sells bacon and pork chops out of it. It's amazing. I mean,
now
really,
I gotta go, man.
Now we gotta go, right?
Yeah.
Bacon and bourbon, I'm in.
Bacon and bourbon.
I know.
I mean, just amazing. Got a really cool little place out in the country. It's his own personal farm. Him and his wife put this together, and he's the master brewer behind there, and she does all the front. And it's just amazing, cool place. It's probably 15 by 15 feet. I mean,
20 by 20, yeah, about
20
like
by
that.
20,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Small little place, but that place rocks it. You're only open one day a week, right?
One day a week right now. Yeah, that's right. So, and we
And then
hope to talk to. I mean, we have sold beer through, Famous and Mount Zion. Well, all the famous locations up there, and some of the Harvest Market in Springfield. So we hope to go back to them now with these, these bourbons, and then we have a lot of our beers too, bottle aged stuff. So we're going to try to get out because we can self distribute. That's one of the nice things. I was able to get I mean, we're small. I mean, there's limits on us, but self distribution, and we'll have tasting in the tap room, and we'll sell bottles. So we're not going to pour, actually, which was kind of our own choice. I mean, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and
right. I agree.
Usually it's the drive, and we want to make sure, drinking barrel aged stuff. We just said our beers are high enough, and some people have a little trouble with that. So we said, I don't think we want to start pouring full glasses of
no,
of
that's a
this
good
stuff.
idea. A very, very good idea. Absolutely. Well, we hope we can help you get the word out about what you're doing, and I know you got a lot of contacts and friends in the business too. Hope you can find out, get people to know what we're doing. What we're trying to do is get enough followers on this podcast that it'll pay for itself to get our own barrel select from MPG.
Right.
And brand it the Decatur Club. Like our brand here is the Decatur Bourbon Talk, and
Right.
brand it like that. Get a couple hundred people that want to buy a $40 or $50 bottle, and get something unique for the community and local. And then whatever profits above and beyond our costs, we want to donate to a local charity here in town for the first time. And so that's kind of why we're doing this podcast. We always try to get expert guests on, like you. Last podcast we had Steve Carter. Are you familiar with Steve Carter?
I don't think so.
Started Samuel Burton's distillery down in Labadie, Missouri. He's from Findlay, Illinois. He grew up there.
Oh, no, I do. I know him. The name didn't ring a bell. Yeah. He's been here a couple
You've probably
times.
seen or tasted some of his bourbons through Bill.
Yeah, no, I've drank a little bit of his stuff. Yeah, and we actually went to his distillery. It's a very cool place.
Oh, you did in Labadie? Yeah.
Yeah. We were down there and we went there. And Drew and Peg had been there, and he bragged it up. So we did go down there. But yeah, I mean, it is very cool, and I have met him.
Well, good. Yeah. So we had him on last time, and just the wealth of knowledge on what he, what.
Oh yeah, well he's been in it, a while.
Yeah.
It's new for me, but
yeah.
Well, it's one thing if you guys want to, I'd be glad to if you can get to MGP direct yourself, but I'd be glad to work with you as well because I mean, we could do if I buy 3 or 4, four or more barrels in at a time, we could definitely work with you to add another one in there for you guys and be shipping save you a little bit.
All right. Awesome. Well, we hope to see you on the 24th up at the High West.
Yeah. We will be here. We will be there for sure.
With Todd and Trish.
Table of 10, so
that's our whole group. That's our whole bourbon group that's coming up. Awesome. They're all going to be there. So, and Mike Carner, if you haven't met him, he's an interesting guy from Chicago that lives down here, and he now loves rye. So he's going to be. When I tell him that how much the focus on rye, he'll be going nuts.
Oh, good.
That's awesome.
Well, Phil, thanks for sharing your expertise with us. I hope to meet you in person on the 24th.
Yeah, very good.
We sure appreciate all you're doing down there.
All right, very good. Nice to talk to you guys.
All right, Phil. All right, man. We'll see you. Thanks for being part of it. All right, bye-bye.